Right, hello, welcome to the inaugural edition of the Progcast. I'm Aled Barcroft with...
My name's Ben Hunter. You've no idea how long that took me to...
So opulent.
Was that even worth it?
Don't I get one after my name?
We'll work on that for next week.
Alright, okay. Today we're going to start with the classic album Selling England by the Pound by Genesis.
Yes, indeed.
So is it a revelation, or will it lead to an exodus, a re-evaluation of the numbers, and the band looking for a new job? You like that? Well, anyway, we'll be the judges.
Oh dear.
So,
that's a brilliant...
got any more? It might be lukewarm, I guess. No, okay.
Jesus,
right.
man. I don't
Jesus, exactly. Alright then, should we crack straight in?
Yeah.
I want to open with a thought about, more general thought about prog rather than the album. But when you say that you're a fan of prog and you mention Genesis, everyone cringes and goes, oh god, no, not Genesis. If you say that you're a fan of Pink Floyd, everyone's like, oh yeah, a bit of Floyd, yeah, I like that, I dig that. And I want to know why that is, or why you think that is.
That is a very, very good question. I've not actually given that much consideration, but I think that Pink Floyd are a band that have evolved a great deal, and if you look at sort of the more modern era Pink Floyd compared to the earlier stuff, it's a completely different sound. You've got all the slow guitar solos and that kind of thing.
But is that not truer of Genesis than any... I mean, the transformation they went between the kind of 70s and the 80s sound, well, they just became a straight-up pop act, really. I mean,
maybe it's about... Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I think Pink Floyd went into the direction of slow guitar solos and all those kind of cool things.
They kept it cool, right?
Genesis went very much into...
Don't tell me Invisible Touch isn't cool, mate.
Genesis went very much into that kind of cringy pop, and that's probably the reason. Now, I think if you go back to the 70s stuff, it's really good. Maybe people just can't look past the horrors.
You think that's it?
Yeah, but that's my only theory on it.
See, I think that Genesis is a bit more, well, 70s, like prog era Genesis, is a bit more subtle than Pink Floyd. I mean, people are going to crucify me for that. And I think this album is probably the leading exponent of that, in that it's got not so much kind of pop hooks or richness to it, in that sense. There's not got the extremes that a lot of prog has.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I think if you're gonna say let's make a prog band, let's make a prog song, what would you do? You'd make it in an odd time signature. You'd make it long. You'd make it have loads of guitar solos and stuff. This album isn't so obvious in that sense.
It does have some odd time signatures, and it does have some long tracks.
It's got them in there, but you don't notice because the songs are so well written.
Yeah,
it's a kind of fluidity of music. You listen to it, this is a good song, and it's a good song because it's well written, because of the vocals, and then you realise, oh, this is a really weird time signature.
The fact that it's in 7/8 is just incidental, isn't it?
And I think they haven't tried to force it too much. There are some songs on there, like we've talked about with the ballady one, what's the More Fool Me? That is a strange song to put on a prog album, but it fits because they've just written good songs and put them on there.
I love that because that's almost just pop, really, just an acoustic and a vocal, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what you're trying to get across here. Is it's not. It is a prog album, but it doesn't feel contrived. It doesn't feel like they're trying to push all these weird things. They've written good songs, and you know they're naturally.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this was still the kind of defining the prog era, wasn't it? Where
I
think a lot of later prog basically is just trying to fall into those cliched, let's make the tracks as long as possible, let's make the sounds as challenging as possible, really difficult to listen to. What I was thinking is that this album, it's like a game of cricket. I don't know if you like cricket or not.
Here we go.
It's the difference between a test match and a game of 2020 cricket. In that 2020 cricket, it's obviously compressed to get the most exciting, like the most sixes and the most bowling people out, getting wickets, and silly like running people out and stuff like that, because that's the exciting, in inverted commas, aspects of cricket. But you lose a lot of the interest, the strategy, the subtlety, the development that a test match brings. That you might have several overs of leg byes, but eventually that's leading to the fall of the wicket. Whereas in 2020 it's just kind of like bish bash, here's the six, that's what you're waiting for, here's another chorus, let's throw it in.
Right, yeah, I've got you. So you're saying there's more sort of instant attempt at trying to get instant gratification in more modern albums, but this is a laying the foundations type thing?
I think so. I mean, this probably underpins prog in general, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they could probably describe pop and prog in those kind of terms anyway.
I think the genesis of an album where pop and prog meet quite pleasantly. There are some very, very catchy choruses on this album. There's that.
I think it's interesting what you say about More Fool Me, because it starts with the Dancing with the Moonlit Night, long kind of proggy song. How long is that? About 8 minutes. And then I Know What I Like, which is a short 4-minute pop song basically. Then Fur for Fifth, which is again a long one. Then More Fool Me, nice short. Battle of Epping Forest long, After the Ordeal, which isn't a pop song, but it's definitely shorter.
Yeah.
And then the Cinema Show.
And the Cinema Show for me is a brilliant penultimate song. It's just so progressive. It's really involving with the lyrics. I think this band are really good on this album of portraying personalities with vocals. Like you've got the Battle of Epping Forest, you've got all the cheeky.
I would say there's no one better for that than Peter Gabriel.
It's just eccentricity, isn't it?
It's awesome.
And you have all this. He adopts characters and puts quirky little vocal lines in, and that's definitely true on the Cinema Show with Father Tiresias. And when I first heard that, I kept laughing at it.
I think that's really good because it's a proper prog. How long is that? 11 minutes, is it? Something like that.
Yeah, it's an absolute beast. Yeah.
11 minutes 06. But it's got a lot of little pop hooks and there's interesting vocal things pull it along nicely.
I mean, it's very easy when you're writing long songs to get lost. Have a little bit of vocal at the start, you have 13 minutes of guitar solos and you come back. They kind of keep the vocals there and keep you entertained with that, and that's just why this album works. It is a blending of pop and prog.
Well, meandering is always, again in inverted commas, there's always a criticism of prog in general, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's coming back to Pink Floyd. If you think about some of their great songs, Wish You Were Here is an album that starts with really slow synths. Very slowly building, loads of guitar, and it is a classic song, and I like listening to it. But it is sort of meandering in the sense that you don't have that fusion of entertainment and stuff. They're trying to build it very slowly. Genesis just seem to put the two things together, really quirky and also progressive and long. And I think that's what I like about this album.
The thing is that should make it quite not a gateway exactly, but like that kind of a beginner's, a gateway band into the genre if it's like mixed with pop hooks. Whereas I don't think it is as gateway as a lot of say Pink Floyd, or even a lot of Yes.
Certainly, people have bypassed Genesis, and I think I almost did myself until you showed me this album, and I think that got me onto them. But yeah, I think a lot of people have sort of just not done the Genesis stage, and they need to go back and have a look because there's a lot in there really. Armed with his
At the risk of sounding a bit xenophobic, I like the Englishness of this album.
No, I think that's completely acceptable. There is nothing quite like an eccentric English prog album, and you've got multiple bands that like that, and you've got all the Canterbury scene with bands like Caravan and stuff. And Peter Gabriel just does that so well, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, if you look at the album cover, that's like some English country garden. I can't tell quite what those are.
I've got to be honest, I don't like the cover that much.
Why?
It looks sort of faded and vague. I prefer something a bit more,
You sure that's not just because you've got
an old album
from 1973 after all, mate?
I wish. No, I don't know. It's a very, very green English tea garden looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's brilliant though. It's like almost like Alice in Wonderland kind of daydream, and I think that is the inspiration for I Know What I Like brackets in your wardrobe.
Oh, I see. Is it?
I think so. It's got like the lawnmower.
Me? I'm just a lawnmower. You can tell me by the way I walk.
Okay, have you got anything else to add?
Well, I think I've already touched on it really. I think that Genesis shouldn't be bypassed. I think this is a great album to get you into them, and a great album to kind of broaden your horizons really.
Is it still relevant to the modern prog listener?
Absolutely, yes. I think that we can learn a lot about telling a story from this album. Most of the songs try and tell a story. There's so much character development. There's so much eccentricity in the lyrics. And I think I'd like to see more of that in prog, really. Fine, we've got great long guitar solos and 17, 13 time signatures, but I think what we all listen to prog for, certainly myself, is to hear a story, is to hear something that takes you somewhere. This album definitely does that.
But it also has those other things that you mentioned, long solos, long songs, interesting time signatures. But that's not the point, that's not the focus, is it? It's the storytelling, the dream weaving. If you want to allow me to be a bit Gabriel-esque.
Yeah, I'll allow that. You don't have your flower costume on there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, fair enough. So, I think it's come for the time for me to give you a bit of a quiz.
Oh, right, okay, go on.
So I'm going to give you a very short, it must be 1 to 2 seconds clip of a...
Is this off this album? Or?
No, it's not off this album.
Right, okay.
It's a prog song. We'll see if you get it with the first listen.
Play along at home. That was by Yes, wasn't it? God, my mind's gone blank now. Can we have that again?
Yeah, you can have it again. This is your last one, though.
I'm gonna punt at Roundabout by Yes.
Very well done. Excellent. Well, that's 1-0 to you so
Right.
far. Alright guys, thank you for listening to the first episode of the weekly Progcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Aled.
And we've been talking about Selling England by the Pound from Genesis. Definitely worth checking out. See you next time.
I'm sorry, I just totally lost focus at the end.